You ever get that feeling? Like you're weeks into marathon training, race day is getting closer and closer, and suddenly every ache, every pain you feel, it's like, is this it? Is this going to derail everything I've worked for?
Oh, yeah, that teetering point between excitement and total panic. Right.
Exactly.
Huh?
And that's where we find our runner this week in Running Rebooted.
Hmm.
Week 4 of their half marathon training, they're dealing with a bit of a knee thing, it seems. And honestly, the detail in this blog is really impressive.
It's pretty interesting, at this point in the training cycle, it really does become as much about what you don't do as what you do.
Right? It's taper time. But this runner, they aren't just taking it easy. They're being really strategic about it. Week 4, it kicks off with a 6.5K run. Pretty standard stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But then, and this is what caught my eye, they're adding hill strides on Sunday, which seems, I don't know, kind of counterintuitive when you're trying to wind things down.
Yeah, it's a balancing act for sure. You got to keep that engine warm, but without pushing yourself to the point of burnout. See, those easy runs, they're actually crucial for recovery, for flushing out all those metabolic byproducts that build up over those high-intensity training weeks.
So almost like a gentle detox for your muscles.
You got it. Precisely that. And the hill strides. They're interesting. You're keeping the muscles engaged, working on explosive power, all that good stuff, but without the prolonged stress of, say, like a full-on hill workout. Low impact, maintaining strength. Clever.
Really smart.
Yeah.
And they're going to need it, remembering that knee issue they mentioned earlier. And speaking of minimizing impact, they're hitting the gym on Tuesday. What's the logic behind strength training in the taper? You'd think less pounding would be the goal.
It's a really common misconception, actually. Strength training during the taper, it's less about packing on new muscle and more about reinforcing what you've already built. You're basically fine-tuning your body's support system.
So, like, making sure the scaffolding is solid before the big performance.
Precisely. Strong glutes, a strong core, heck, even upper body strength, it all plays a role in running efficiently and preventing those dreaded injuries.
I can see that.
Yeah.
Everything working in sync. Now, Wednesday and Thursday, all about rest and recovery. Makes sense. But then, and this is where it gets kind of out there, they're using a clay pack on their knee. Is that like a runner thing?
It definitely is. See, rest days, that's where the magic happens. Like literally. All those microscopic tears in your muscles, they repair and rebuild during this downtime. You come back stronger. And that clay pack, my guess is it's all about managing the inflammation.
Which makes sense, especially with what sounds like a bit of runner's knee. You definitely don't want to mess around with injuries this close to race day. So we're at Friday now. What's the plan?
Friday it is, and we're seeing another shift in strategy here. Remember how we were talking about easy runs helping to flesh out the muscle?
Like a good muscle detox.
Exactly. So they're still doing a short run, 4.5K, but now they're replenishing those energy stores. Carb-loading time.
Ah, yes, carb loading. Practically a competitive eating event for runners.
Right. Haha, right. Though I'm sure our runner isn't complaining about all that pasta. But seriously, though, it's all about those glycogen stores. That's your muscle's primary fuel source for these long runs.
So instead of hitting empty halfway through, you've got that reserve tank ready to go.
Precisely. Muscles are like high-performance race cars, right? And carbs, that's the high-octane fuel they need.
Makes sense. Wouldn't want to start a half marathon with the fuel light on. And it looks like this runner is being pretty particular about the types of carbs they're going for.
Absolutely, and that's key. It's not just quantity, quality matters too. They're prioritizing complex carbs. Things like brown rice, quinoa, sweet potatoes, slower, more sustained energy release. Perfect for endurance.
Smart. And to really maximize that sustained energy, looks like a full rest day on Saturday, focusing on hydration and, well, more carb loading.
But this is interesting. They're also spending time visualizing the race, setting goals. That's new.
Right. It's not something you see a lot of runners focusing on, but it's so important. The mental side of race prep can make or break your performance. You're pushing your body to its limit. Doubts creep in, negative thoughts, it happens.
Oh, for sure. Especially when you see those miles adding up. So how does visualization actually help with that? Asking for a friend, obviously.
Think of it like mental rehearsal. You're picturing yourself overcoming those tough moments, crossing that finish line, that feeling of accomplishment. It's like creating a positive feedback loop, Builds confidence, manages those pre-race jitters, which I was going to say they actually mentioned feeling a little anxious about the race. Totally normal, I'd say. But what are some other good strategies to combat those pre-race nerves?
Totally normal. Everyone gets them. Sometimes it helps to reframe those nerves as excitement, Your body's pumping adrenaline, you're gearing up for something big, channel that energy.
It really is a head game as much as anything else. But before we wrap up, can we go back to the carb loading thing for a sec? Our runner seems like they've got it down to a science, but What about people who are newer to this whole pre-race fueling thing? Are there any, like, carb-loading pitfalls people should avoid?
Oh, totally. I think the biggest one is people thinking it's just a free-for-all, you know?
Yeah.
Like all carbs all the time for days leading up to the
Yeah,
race.
like permission to just eat a mountain of spaghetti starting
Yeah.
now.
Exactly. But really, it's about that strategic increase a couple days out. Those complex carbs, like we were saying, the brown rice, quinoa, all that good stuff.
Uh,
And also, not everyone needs the same amount. You got to factor in your weight, how intensely you're training, even just how long the race is. Don't go overboard.
so listen to your body,
Uh,
and maybe don't eat an entire pizza the night before just because you're running a 5K. Got it.
yeah.
We covered a lot today. Tapering, the mental game, secret clay packs. Any final words of wisdom from this week's blog, would you say?
I think the biggest thing, at least for me, is remembering that training for something like a half marathon, it's more than just putting in the miles. Yeah, you got to train hard, but knowing when and how to rest, how to recover, it's just as important. And tapering isn't about slowing down, it's about being strategic, so your body and mind are primed for race day.
It's like switching from working hard to working smart, kind of.
Yeah, exactly. And also remembering that everyone's different. What works for our runner this week might not work for everyone listening. Find what works for you, you know?
Love that.
Yeah.
Tune into your body. Aren't afraid to try something new, even if it's a clay pack.
Exactly. And hey, this is supposed to be fun, right? So yeah, put in the work, be strategic about it, but don't forget to actually enjoy the journey. You're doing awesome.
Couldn't have said it better myself. So, as you head into your training this week, think about what we've learned from Running Rebooted. Maybe you add some hill strides to your routine. Maybe you give that clay pack a shot. But most importantly, how are you going to make this journey your own? See you next time for another deep dive.